Now I'm going to teach you how to make a research introduction. The introduction leads the reader from a general research issue or a problem to your specific area of research. In fact, it puts your research question in context by explaining the significance of the research being conducted. This is usually done by summarizing current understanding and background information about the topic. And then this is followed by a statement of the purpose of your research issue or problem. And at the same time, this is sometimes followed by hypotheses or a set of questions you attempt to answer in your research. You may also explain your methodology and explain what your study can reveal. It also may contain a summary of structure of the rest of the paper. A good introduction will summarize, integrate, and critically evaluate the empirical knowledge in the relevant areas in a way that sets the stage for your study and why you conducted it. The introduction starts out broad, of course, but not too broad, and gets more focused towards the end. When I'm reading an introduction, I always ask, what is his story? So in this case, your intro must be organized in which it should be a logical flow of ideas that leads up to your hypothesis. So in the process, you have to first brainstorm all of the ideas you think that are necessary to include in your paper. Next, you have to decide which ideas make sense to present first, second, third, and so forth. And think about how you want to transition between ideas. Don't you ever put your readers to sleep. There are five components of research paper introduction. The first component is you have to establish the problem or issue that you wanted to research. Always remember that the dependent variable is the problem or issue under study. So more highlight is given on this dependent variable. You have to write the context of understanding the problem and your approach. Highlight also the importance of the problem or issue and make general statements about it. And present an overview on current researches on that issue or problem. So when you present the overview, you need to highlight or you need to provide facts and figures to show the extent of the problem. So for example, the issue is all about burnout of employees, then you will say that from the study conducted by the World Health Organization, and you have to place the year, for example, 2018, it revealed that more than 70% of employees experience physical and psychological exhaustion at work. The 70% figure emphasized the extent of the problem about burnout of employees at work. Hence, it justified an alarming scenario about the recent occupational health status of employees at work. So that's how to present the problem or the issue of the study. The second component is you have to provide an overview of existing thinking about the problem and researches conducted in the literature about the issue or problem or your dependent variable. So you need to conduct an inventory of previous studies talking about the dependent variable or the issue or problem under study. Based from the inventory, you can find interventions conducted about the problem and factors that influence the problem or the dependent variable. In this case, you can determine what are previously done in the literatures. Like for example, the previous studies revealed that leadership behavior and workloads provide influence on the burnout of employees. So this is a study conducted by Brown 2018. The third component is you have to identify a gap, problems, or unresolved issues in the existing knowledge that your research can fill or identify a research focus that will be very useful. So out from the previous researches, this is a way for you to establish the novelty of the study. So from your readings, you can find the weaknesses of the previous study. What are the areas that has not been studied or not been done in the literature that will make your study different and something that can address the weak areas of the previous researches. So the following are the examples on how to form the statement of the research gap. Example number one. The previous research has mistakenly assumed that, or although most experts in the field believe, they have overlooked a certain thing, and you just have to continue that one in your statement. What is the thing that is overlooked in the previous researches? Another is none of the previous research has examined particular variables, for example. So you have to state that particular area in which previous researches have failed to examine. Another is consequently, these factors need to examine in more detail, or evidence suggests an interesting correlation. Therefore, it is desirable to survey different kinds of respondents or different kinds of groups. For example, in the burnout studies, most of the um, conducted studies are focused on healthcare professionals. But if you want to focus into another group, like for example, academic employees like teachers or even those frontliners in the field, so you can actually use that one as a gap, because a group gap is also an example of establishing the uniqueness of your study. In the component number 4, you have to state your research question, your hypothesis, and your knowledge claim, making sure to place your research within the gap in existing knowledge. So in this case, you have to state the intent of your study, including the research questions and your hypothesis. You can also outline the key characteristics of your study and describe important results that you have found or hope to find. So there are strategies for positioning your knowledge claim or thesis. The best introductions are likely to make the knowledge claim stand out in some way. Here are several ways in which writers position their knowledge claims so that they stand out. The first is inquisitive thesis. It shows that the subject in question is important, curious, or otherwise interesting. Example statement is, the previous research suggests an interesting correlation between A and B. Therefore, my research will. So you have to place or present the direction of your study. Another is paradoxical thesis. It focuses on the way in which your research will go against what is commonly believed in the field. So there is a little contradiction in the previous belief. So this form of introduction searches for unlikely perspectives on the subject. So the statement goes like this. Although most experts in the field believe, they have overlooked certain areas, so you have to state what particular areas. So my research will, so you have to give direction in order to determine areas that has been overlooked by the previous researches. The last one is a corrective thesis. It shows that the subject has been neglected, misunderstood, or misrepresented by others. This approach addresses the preconceptions of readers that the subject is common. So example statement is, despite the intense focus on X, few researchers have examined problem Y. So my research will, so you have to give certain statement in which you will really justify that that research is somewhat not common and need to be studied. So all of these will provide approach or activities that you will undertake. The last component, or component number 5, you have to stress the value and relevance of your research. Why is your research relevant? What will it contribute to the field and beyond? Why should we care about your research? So these are the guide questions in drafting your statement in component number 5. We should always remember that we are not only conducting research just only to contribute to the body of knowledge, but we also want our research to be utilized for solution of societal problem and can be used in some ways such as informing policy or intervention or enhancement programs that can improve the quality of life of the people in the community.